My name is Damon Brown. This is Bring Your Worth TV. I'm your host, executive producer, and founder of Bring Your Worth Business, Damon Brown. I'm a business coach. I'm an author. I'm a TED speaker, a few different TEDs, the main TED, second stage, as well as some of the TEDx's, and also working with a lot of y'all as basically a motivator to help you get to where you need to be. Thanks for connecting on Amazon. I think y'all just linked up on here, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and all the other cool places. I come to you every Wednesday and Sunday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. Actually, doing something special this month. Excuse me, where I'll be connecting. Oh, I am distant. There you go. Hopefully, you hear me better. Um, where I'm going to be connecting with y'all every single day within this month of September. So it's like September 21st. I'll be coming to y'all for a handful of more days. I think about 10 more days. You guys can do the math better than me. I'm excited to be rocking with y'all like that. If you like content that helps you as a side hustler, as a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur, the stuff that I specialize in, I am one of y'all. Be sure and click the link below. Subscribe. It is free. There's about 18,000 plus of y'all as of this recording. I appreciate y'all coming through. Coming on the third anniversary of the show. I so appreciate the love. And get the complete Bring Your Worth collection coming out October 20th. If you're watching after that, it's available right now. You can get it at damonbrown.net, signed. If you're watching on Amazon, the link is right there. Also, you can rock with bookshop.org, which connects all the indie bookstores. As I said, I'm based here in Las Vegas, and I can go to bookshop.org. I have a little shop right there. If you click the link below, little shop right there. And then it has all my books as well as some of my other favorite authors, aside from myself. And you can go in and get it from your favorite indie bookstore, which support the indies. My imprint is independent, so you want to go and check it out. This is made by my own little hands with my big head on the back. So if you want to double support the indies, you're just watching this and supporting the independent. So thank you for supporting my independent hustle as I'm trying to support yours. If you want to go even deeper, check out bookshop.org. I cannot sing their praises enough. October 20th, the complete collection going back to 2016 when I was just getting in the game. You can see the growth, hopefully, as I've learned to support you more over the years. In case you missed it, big marathon that happened, I want to say about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Let me make sure I get the name right because I kept kind of refine the name, make sure that y'all know what I was talking about. Make 2024 Profitable Business Live Stream Marathon, episode 337. Today is episode 350. There's been 350 episodes of Bring Your Worth TV. Thank you. One of the ways to celebrate that was number one, going live every month, every day this month, not every month, but every day this month. So you've been catching me Monday through Friday. Again, we got about another week and a half, 2 weeks of September. So you're going to see me throughout. Come through at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. But also to celebrate that, I did a marathon of all my best live shows from last year. It's about 9 hours long. As I've always said, it works out really well as a podcast, which of course is the subject of what we're talking about today with podcast software. When I'm getting into shows that are similar to mine, I'm thinking Earn Your Leisure. I'm thinking of the Rich Roll podcast. He does fantastic work. I've known his work for a little while, but I'm really starting to get into him now. He's fantastic, and he interviews a lot of people that I really am into. I think of Seth Godin's podcast, but he's not so much the visual. A lot of these major podcasts, though, which I'll get into later, they're visual and they're auditory, but they're still podcasts, just like mine. My traditional show, which you'll usually see on Sundays, that's edited, that's recorded a certain way. You can just do it audio if you want. The live shows, though, which I've done about, I think I'm approaching 100 of them. They've done 80, 85. You guys let me know in the comments. In fact, I think I've done 90 because I think I'm about to hit 100 this month, which is just dawning on me. Thank you so much again for rocking with me this long. All of them are built to be listened to too. So if you don't want to see my ugly mug, you can just listen to it. If you're going on a long walk, we have, a lot of mountains and hills here in Vegas. I'll go on a long walk, little mini hike. I'm not a big hiker, but like walk up a hill or something. I'll listen to my favorite podcasts, like the aforementioned ones I talked about. They're visual, but they work great just the sound. If you're doing long road trips, as I've done definitely my share of cross-country trips, is perfect for that. You do not need to sit in front of your computer or your phone for 9 hours. If you want to, cool. But if you got stuff to do, if you got little kids like I do, or you got, a life outside of this, just plug it in, treat it like a long form podcast. It's 9 hours. I was trying to give you as much game as possible. Do not miss it. Literally thousands of you have come through to check out whether you listened or you watched. Thank you. I want to make sure you guys don't miss the boat on this one because it's a rare thing. I do that kind of marathon. Yesterday, how do I make time to rest? The ultimate live guide. I took 3 or 4, in fact, it might have been 5 of my best live shows that talked about how we rest, how we can sleep better, how we can stay centered, how we can find that peace of mind and balance ourselves when we're juggling different things, how we can deal with being overworked and borderline burnout. I talk about all those things. It's a handful of episodes put together. It was live yesterday. It's still available for y'all. Be sure and check it out. Thanks to y'all that came through and said hi. I appreciate all of y'all. And at the top of this week, probably one of my most important episodes I've done recently and definitely unique, James Oliver Jr. He's the founder of the Parentpreneur Foundation, which supports African-American founders, particularly startup founders who have little kids, who are trying to build their stuff while being a good parent. Basically the work that I do, but he and I linked up and had this great conversation about how I went from exactly a year ago having a few hundred subscribers to this channel at bringyourworth.tv to having 18,000 plus of y'all right now. I give the exact blueprint, 3 major tips, a lot of major keys in there. Great conversation. Thank you for having me, James, because it was simulcast on his Parentpreneur platform as well. I appreciate you having me. Links are below. When you click on that, links are below also to the work that he's doing with his new startup called Kabila, which actually connects people as co-founders. If you're familiar with my work, and I talk about it all throughout all the different books, again, all in the complete Bring Your Worth collection, you know that I've had several different co-founders and I've co-authored books, a lot of them behind my big head over here. And so I understand and respect that part of the process. If you don't have the right partner or partners, then your journey is going to be a lot harder if you make it at all. If you're interested in Kabila, as well as his work with the Parentpreneur Foundation, be sure and click on the link on the actual page at bringyourworth.tv is all the links for James. So thank you, James, for having me. All right. Today, all the podcasts, something from Boston, all the podcast software you need. Excuse me. Now, this is a strong and important episode because a few days ago, and let me make sure that I can get the link in there. Oh, let me go and make sure I got the link for what you guys need. And so yesterday, actually, I'm sorry, a couple days ago, on Tuesday, excuse me, I did essentially part 1 of this, where I talked about all the hardware you would need. I talked about well, you can't see it now. Now you can see it. Talk about the microphone. You even got a glimpse at my little cute office here. At least I think it's cute. My little cute office here. And you're able to see the lighting and how I keep the sound out, because again, I got 2 little kids, all those different things. I broke that all down on Tuesday. Thank you all that came through for any questions you had and all the other stuff. Be sure and check that out. There's like a companion piece of it. We talked about all the podcast equipment you need to get ready for your podcast debut by 2024, which as of this recording, we're getting to the final quarter. So the new year is about to begin in a matter of weeks. Today, we're going to talk about the other side of it, all the podcast software you need. There's a little bit of overlap here. And what occurred is that I went ahead and did the podcast equipment episode. A lot of great feedback on it. Thank you all that came through. And then I realized that there was a whole other half of it. So I tagged a couple software things on Tuesday's episode. Again, you check it out. But I realized I didn't go deep enough, at least based on the feedback that I was getting from y'all as far as saying, oh, I really need this episode. And I'm like, well, I went over all the equipment, but podcasting is so software oriented now. Let me make sure that y'all are covered on that. And so that's what we're going to do today. Look at it as a companion piece, an addendum, or a part two to what we talked about on Tuesday. Again, don't forget about the link right there. Definitely you want to go back and watch part one. Excuse me. You can tell it just rained here in Vegas because, man, it is allergy season for sure. All right. How do I record my podcast? It sounds super basic, but you can have all this great equipment. At least I think it's great equipment and all this stuff. And you're like, wait, how do I actually record the thing? How does that work? And we touched on it very briefly a couple days ago, but I want to make sure that you guys get the insight that you need as much as possible. For your audio podcasts, I cannot recommend enough Riverside.fm. How it works is that, number one, it's based completely in the website. So I've been a guest on dozens of podcasts, probably more than that at this point, but many, many different podcasts. I can tell the difference between the earlier days before Riverside, before people started really rocking with Riverside, and now. Now, when I get a request or I ask to be on a podcast, they're like, great, here's the link. I click on the link, they make sure my mic is right, and we're off to the races. Back in the day, and you old school and OG podcasters know, back in the day, it was a process. Sometimes the people that you were podcasting with had to get their own individual thing, and you had to make sure their mic was right, but you couldn't do that because you were remote. Riverside FM takes care of that. The first thing it does is that it's completely within the website. So I usually use Chrome, so Google Chrome to do it. It does not work with Safari, which is my favorite browser. No endorsement, just happens to be what I like. And so it doesn't work that well with Safari, which is kind of standard with the Apple computers, which is what I tend to lean towards. It works really well with Google Chrome. I believe it works with Opera as well, which is my second choice for a web browser. But you click on there, you give that link to whoever you're going to have on your podcast, and then you're good to go. So that's one. This sounds simple, but it can get really complex. The people that you're having on your podcast show don't need to call in a phone number and all that. They can do it right on their computer with the mic. Fantastic. Again, I've been on both sides of that. The second thing is that it separates all the audio. And so if my mic sounds just okay, and then you as a podcast host, your mic is like a professional mic, like one of those $1,000 joints, then if it was all recorded in one audio take, there's no way you could fix my audio because it's tied to your audio. So if my audio was low and yours was super, even normal, if you turn up my audio, your audio is going to be jacked up. And of course, vice versa. Riverside works really well because it separates all the audio. And if I'm terming it correctly, it records them locally. Now, not actually on the person at you're interviewing, not on their computer locally, but as a local file. That's saved. And then as a podcast host, you get access to all of it. And so if there's background noise, there's always construction happening here in Vegas. So if there's background noise or other stuff happening, then you're able to push that out. But then you're also able to keep the power of your own audio. Again, like you hear, I'm getting closer now. Those things can really affect how a podcast sounds. If you're having a challenge with those particular types of things, it's really hard to fix them, what they call post-production. It's really hard to do that. Riverside actually helps a lot with that, where it separates those things out. And now I think they also have, I just was reading, they have AI functions that allow you to separate different sounds. So again, if there's construction, I don't live that far from the Strip, there's always construction in that general area. So if there's noise outside of my office, then you might be able to adjust those levels again without jacking up the entire audio track, which includes other people that are in your podcast. Really, really important stuff. This is a special link. I think you guys get a month or two free, something like that, but there is a bonus involved in it. Be sure and check it out if you're looking to focus on the audio side of podcasting. Again, on the audio side, that means you don't have video involved in it. If you're going to be doing the more modern wave, where with the aforementioned ones, with Earn Your Leisure or Rich Roll and other folks like that, obviously Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss, Joe Budden, shout out to him. If you're doing that, that means you're also going to have a video component. And when a lot of the podcasts that you know of the most now that are doing quote unquote really well, or they have a name brand, they usually are doing the audio and they're connected with Spotify or Audible has podcasts now. Apple, I think, has some exclusive podcasts. ACX, which I think is connected to Audible, has some, like, it just keeps going and going. That's fine. The new wave, though, and I'd say, and I talk about this again, I'll throw it back up here with the great conversation I had with James Oliver. I talk all about this. So be sure and check out the link if you want to go deeper into this, because we have a great 5-10 minute conversation just about this. A lot of the podcasters who were just audio before are now doing video. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it's just literally a camera recording you and then whomever your guest is. You can get as fancy as you want. You can do editing and all that other stuff. So in some ways, the BringYourWorth.tv, this show is a podcast. This was not my intention. My intention was to create a TV show. I think I have. But with so many formats of the modern podcasting going into video, this has turned into almost like a video podcast. Again, like I talked about, particularly with these live shows, where if you guys have questions, throw them in right now. It's live. Like, there's questions right here. I am here in the flesh. That energy is different than a recorded show. StreamYard is my favorite option at this moment for doing live streaming. In fact, I'm using, to get meta for a second, not Zuckerberg, but meta as in the, the dictionary definition. I'm actually using StreamYard right now to talk to you right now. It works out really well. The basic format will get you to a couple different platforms. It's, once you understand the system, it's relatively easy to stream your stuff. And there's different ways that you can adjust the levels and even bring guests in. I think with the basic program, you can bring like 8 guests in, which, as I said the other day, unless you're bringing in Wu-Tang, you're probably not going to need eight mics. But if you need them, I think it's like 4 to 8 mics you can put in just in the basic plan. What I love about StreamYard and why I work with StreamYard, as well as the next platform I'm going to talk about. Next platform is called Restream. If you wanted some other options, we'll talk about that in a moment. Is that you can stream once and then give it to a bunch of different places. So I'm talking to you right now. I think I talked about that at the top of the show. Right now, this is streaming live to BringYourWorth.tv, which the current hub is at youtube.com/Brown Damon. So it's going to YouTube Live. It's going to my LinkedIn page. So if you go to my LinkedIn page, or if you're connected with me on LinkedIn, there'll be a live button. It's going there too. And then shout out to y'all over on Amazon, which I'm connecting y'all through my iPad I got on the side here. And so you can put comments in there. It's all streaming through StreamYard. So if you're used to saying, I'm going to go live on this platform, and that's all I'm going to do, you have options now. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but Facebook Live is an option. I'm not as active on Instagram anymore, but Instagram Live, I believe, is an option now. I think they're working on getting TikTok Live as an option. And so the days of you saying, I'm going to go live on Instagram, let me do that, and then maybe I'll go live on Facebook later, those days are coming to a close. StreamYard is part of that wave. Definitely check it out. There's another link where you have some type of bonus involved. I try not to get too committal on those things because those things change all the time, but there's definitely a bonus involved for y'all if you click on there and you want to check it out. The second option when it comes to live broadcasts, again, if you're doing less of the recorded podcasts, even though it does work with recorded podcasts, I'm going to be clear about that. You can pre-record these things. There's a conversation I had with Jonathan Fields, shout out to you, who did the book Sparked over here. And there's a live conversation I have with Cal Newport, who did the excellent book, A World Without Email. And he's known for the book Deep Focus. All those links are available at BringYourWorth.tv. You'll see the search for it. All those conversations were done through some format of StreamYard and or recording. So you can actually pre-record things too. If it's, again, I respect Cal as well as Jonathan a lot. So I didn't want to have them on live and then like the interview go crazy. I wanted to make sure that the interview was solid. Let's have a conversation and then, and then I'll go ahead and edit it as we need to edit it. You can do that within both these platforms too. Another option is Restream. So we have StreamYard and we have Restream. These are the two leaders in this space. That's why I'm recommending them. Restream is very, very similar. One of the advantages of Restream, though, is that they're way more generous, I found, with their basic platform, basic plan, basic as in free. So some of the things that are behind the wall for StreamYard, and I'm pro StreamYard as far as like, not that I'm pro StreamYard, but I'm actually part of their professional plan. So I already pay for it anyway, so I don't see that. But if you're new to things, so starting out with Restream is fine too, because there's certain things that are behind the wall for StreamYard that I pay for that are actually free with Restream. I think it has to do with the amount of platforms you go to at once. For StreamYard, I think you can do 2 platforms at once for free. And I think for Restream, as of this recording, I think you can do 4 or 5 platforms. So let's say you wanted to be on Amazon Live, which you guys should check out. Maybe I'll do a future episode about the opportunities with Amazon Live. You could be on Amazon Live. You could be on, let's say, TikTok. You could be on Instagram. You can be on Facebook, and you can be on LinkedIn. If you need to be on multiple platforms at once, like a lot of them, then Restream, as far as a bargain, might be the way to start. But the platforms are very similar. Shout out to Anya over at Restream and Gage over at StreamYard. They both have been excellent with their customer service. I've talked with a couple of them. They're great. They're great. You can't go wrong with either one. Hopefully that gets y'all to the next level. Excuse me. We're talking about the best podcast software. What are y'all curious about? What are you guys kind of dealing with? What are kind of the challenges as far as with software and things of that nature when it comes to getting your podcast off the ground? How can I get you guys prepared to have a successful podcast in the upcoming year? Drop a line below. Let me know any questions that you got as far as a podcast. This question is really important, and I think we tend to, when we're starting a podcast, we tend to underestimate that. How do I find the best parts of my podcast to share? So we're in this particular phase of connecting with people where, yes, you have the 2-hour podcast. Like I said, I just did a live marathon that was 9 hours long a couple weeks ago, et cetera, et cetera. But the main way that people are going to find your podcast, whether you like it or not, are through snippets. It could be a short viral video, and it's like, oh, I need to hear the rest of that podcast. It could be a clip that has a lot of commentary, and it could be just, a 45-minute clip if it's a very long podcast. Excuse me. Or it could be a 5-minute clip. If you go to bringyourworth.tv, you'll see I have bringyourworth.tv clips now, where there are clips, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 15-minute segments from these longer form things that I'm doing. That's all part of the energy. That's all part of the wave right now. So you could have like a 3-hour podcast with someone that you think is amazing. And there could be 5 or 6 really strong nuggets in there that you really want to share. How do you find those nuggets? How do you share those nuggets? That's really important if you're going to be making your podcast do well in the upcoming year. This one literally just came out this morning. I was getting ready for today's broadcast, and then YouTube dropped a message, and they're like, "Hey, we have a new app." So if you're on YouTube, as I am, this is important to you. The new app is called YouTube Create. Breaking news. If I had a breaking news thing, it'll be flashing all over. I have 2 degrees in journalism. I try to avoid the ambulance chasing. If it bleeds, it leads. So that's why it is a very mellow show. Listen, this is what it does. It's a free app. It's Android only, of course, because YouTube is owned by Google. Google is Android. It's not available for us iPhone users yet. Sorry, but it's fresh off the press. I have the link literally right there if you want to download it, if you're on the Android. It is very, very similar to CapCut. It's similar to InShot, which I'll give a link to in a second, or all the links are below if you don't have the patience for that. It's similar to that, except it's free, and it's from YouTube, and it's built literally to make YouTube shorts. If you want to learn more about it, they have a demo that's available. Again, I have an iPhone, so I couldn't demo it, but they demo it for you. Click the link below. You can learn more about it. again, like the video with the demo just came out like 2 hours ago as I was getting ready for this. And so be sure and check it out. There's so many different ways that you can edit and play with your clips from your podcast. Don't sleep on that, because there's so many great podcasts that I didn't know about until I saw one of their visual clips on YouTube. Or even, I'll give you another example. Some of my audio work, including some of my audiobooks, like The Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, which is the first book in the Bring Your Worth series, again, available in the complete Bring Your Worth collection. I would take the audio from it and I would add visuals, whether it was GIFs, animated GIFs, or as some of y'all know, I took the Bite-Sized Entrepreneur and added AI visuals to it. Again, all that's available at bringyourworth.tv for free. Be sure to check it out. You can go ahead and do that. And that's a way of taking the audio and then sharing it on a visual medium. So if you want to expand your audience and you want to connect with the video platforms like YouTube, like Instagram, like whatever happens to be hot when you're watching this right now, it doesn't mean that you have to have a camera in front of your face like I do. It also could mean you taking the audio and then adding visuals to it post-production. This will help with that. As I mentioned, my favorite one is called InShot. The free program works extremely well. I think it's available on both platforms. I use it on iPhone, obviously, like I've been talking about, but I think it's also available on Android as well. At least it should be. It's been out for probably about 2-3 years. I started using it around the time I started the show. We're going on our 3rd anniversary. It works really well because you can take these big clips, like say 5-hour podcasts or whatever you're doing, get them on the phone, and then set the format. So just to be clear, YouTube Create, give you a link there. YouTube Create is focused on basically shorts. That means the traditional like vertical, right? I'm holding them. I'm using my phone, but I would hold it, but you know what I mean? It's vertical. The first 250 episodes of Bring Your Worth.tv that you watch were made in InShot. In other words, it works great for shorts, but also works great for the traditional horizontal. I forget the dimensions. If you remember the dimensions, feel free to put for you deeper tech files than I am. Be sure and feel free to put them in the comments. But whatever dimensions they are, almost like a television, it works really well. And so it works good for that. And so even if you see, I'm thinking of like Colin and Samir, which is a very popular podcast where they talk to video creators, particularly YouTubers on YouTube. You can just Google Colin and Samir in YouTube and find them. They're really easy to find. They have like 1 million subscribers now. Shout out to them. But when you see their stuff, it's in traditional format. They could do their stuff in InShot. Works out really well for the free program. I had the free program for a while. If you want the better aspects of it, though, it's super cheap. I want to say their annual plan is maybe $20, maybe $25, and I believe it's annual. It might not even be annual anymore. It's so low cost, I don't even think about it. I just buy it, and it's fantastic. It works out really well. I'm starting to play with other programs now that my videos are getting a lot bigger. And if you've seen the recent videos like Freelancer, are you a freelancer or are you an entrepreneur? Or the video that I did about Jay-Z, Prince, and Michael Jackson, and their 3 very different ways of conquering the music industry. Again, all available at bringyourworth.tv. You'll see the production's a lot higher. Certain things for InShot, it will get overwhelmed with it. And I started to find that with some of my later, more complex videos. But if you're doing clips from podcasts and so forth, and your earlier stuff, it'll work out great. This is where it gets fun. So you're like, Damon, I had like a 2-hour interview with somebody, or you're similar to me where it's like, oh yeah, I did like a 2-hour live show, whatever. I don't know which parts are good. I don't know. I'm a little bit overwhelmed by the whole process. I'm not sure what to do. AI can actually help with that. As I used to say back in my day, there's an app for that. My 2 favorite apps for finding clips. Again, this is episode 350. So I get it. If you got I must have thousands of hours worth of content right now. Which are the joints that I should turn into clips? Which are the ones that I should share? Which ones should I turn into clips and they can be their own individual episodes? This helps with that. Opus Pro works like this. I'm going to go and do a quick demo for you guys. So hold on to your seatbelts. All right. Give a shout if you can see it. All right. So Opus Pro works like this. It uses AI to find the best parts in the conversations that you have. Now, a lot of my stuff is solo, but if you go to bringyourworth.tv, and I can throw a link in there, my latest short was a conversation with me and James, as I talked about on Monday, with how to bring your subscribers from 0 to where I'm at, which is in the tens of thousands. It will automatically figure out the juiciest parts of the conversation and then organize it for you in a particular way. So you go to Opus Clips. It's actually just opus.pro. And then it breaks down all the different ways that it works the best. And then you'll see some of my episodes, some of them did not work. But this one right here, hopefully you can see my cursor, learn how to go from 0 to 20K YouTube, right? Again, shout out to James for having me on. Click on this. And then what's this first one? This first one is the short that's on my bringyourworth.tv show right now. If you go to bringyourworth.tv and you go to shorts, it's the one right here. It gives a score, and then it gives an accurate view of the text. Give a shout in the chat or drop me a line if you want me to do something deeper with this. But I want to kind of give you guys the best insight. But wait, there's more. The key to TikTok success. This one is 38 seconds, score of 94. And then it breaks down exactly why that one is good or not good, etc. You notice that it also is automating the text, which is an even more powerful app to do that. So that's opus.pro. I ended up doing the trial a few months ago. I think it was top of the summer. I loved it. I think I talked about it on here once or twice. When I did the ASJ conference at the top of the summer, I just discovered it. I kept talking about it. I mentioned it, I think, during my keynote and then after the Q&A afterwards. I've really loved this work. It is fantastic. I so appreciate what they're doing over there. And it's just a fantastic product. And it's a great way for you to minimize the amount of stress that you have. Again, James and I had a half an hour conversation. I was able to plunk it in there. And then it said, hey, here are 8 different clips in order, ranked, why that will give the most bang for your buck and the most insight to the people you're trying to reach. And we're going to clip it up for you. And we're going to go ahead and do the subtitles for you so you don't have to worry about that. I cleaned it up a little bit. As you guys can probably tell, there's a little bit of stuff on there. That's where InShot will come in. I think I literally used InShot for it. You guys can see the final result over at bringyourworth.tv, which is a great place to be. In fact, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give y'all a direct link to it so I can stop playing around and talking about how it worked out. And I'll give you a link to how it worked out. Thank you for your patience. Technology. Okay, and then undo changes on that. All right. You guys should be good to go. All right. This is the secret to a successful podcast launch. You can see the final results there. And yeah, just excited to share that with y'all. All right, so that's Opus Pro. Get my big head back on there. All right, so that's Opus Pro. Link is right there. So I removed the link, my fault. Link is right there. Great first option for it. The way that they charge, number one, it's a trial. So you can do the trial. The way that they charge, and you might have saw that. In fact, I'll pull this back up. You might see in the corner right there where it says credits. So they actually charge based on how long the video is. So for the conversation that James and I had, I think it was 29 minutes. So I used 29-minute credits, 29 minutes worth of credits, and then that got deducted from my account. If you use the link that I have here, I am an affiliate with them. So if you use the link I have here, that I think you get a month free, might be a week free at this point. Again, I try not to say those things because they change all the time with startups, but be sure and check them out. Run with it while you can. The key thing is that a lot of the tools that I'm sharing with you, again, Opus Pro, I just heard about it at the top of the summer. Now it's starting to become the standard. The next app that I'm going to show you just came out. I bought it immediately. I was like, yes, I need to subscribe. It's subscription based. I'm like, I need to subscribe. And it's totally the next wave. A lot of these things are going to become more commonplace. And so it's not a matter of saying, I'll try it later. It's like, no, if you actually want to have a current podcast and if you want to promote it in a certain way so you can be, successful in 2024, you definitely want to check these out. Even if you don't use my affiliate link, doesn't matter to me. Just check it out. Again, if you're at the ASGA conference, I was talking about Opus Pro the whole time. And now it's starting to get popular. Now a lot of other shorts platforms and podcast platforms are starting to use Opus Pro. You definitely want to make sure that your stuff is of that standard or higher if you're going to compete. There's one of those few areas where I'm like, no, the competition really matters. If you have me as a business coach, I usually don't talk about competition. There's one of those things where it's like, no, you want to care about competition with this one. This other one is amazing. Captions.ai, link below. I think it's available on all the platforms. Again, I have an iPhone, so I use it with the iPhone. It's been available, I think, for a matter of weeks. At least I've heard about it for the last 2-3 weeks. If you follow me on the Shorts channel, or if you subscribe to BringYourWorth.tv and you see the Shorts, you can tell that they've kind of leveled up. First with Opus Pro at the beginning of this summer, and now with Captions.ai. And I have a couple of them that are doing really well, I think, because of this. Here's what Captions AI does. Number one, it's just about shorts. So it's strictly things that I think under 2.5 minutes, something like that. No longer than 3 minutes. Don't quote me on that, but it's less than 3 minutes. I know that. That's number one. Number two, it automatically does the subtitles for you, which is fantastic. So it's not going to find the clips per se. You're going to be uploading clips and then working with them, right? So it's a little bit different than Opus Pro. Opus Pro will help you find the clips per se, but this one is different, where with the found clips, you can then add different languages, and you can also add different ways of doing your subtitles. Different languages is bizarre. I have 3 or 4 different languages that are spoken in my family. Some folks from India, some folks from Honduras, all over the place. Some folks are Puerto Rican. To be able to create a short and then have it be spoken in different language is so different. Keep an eye on this spot because I am going to be experimenting with it. It's absolutely, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, wait, hold on. So Bring Your Worth can be in Italian now? And my whole family rocks with Italy. It can be in Italian now? Really? Oh my gosh. But on a much smaller scale and simpler scale. It's really good at getting the right captions and animating those captions. I've been talking enough. I'm going to let y'all see the latest one that I have. It's been doing really well on BringYourWorth.tv, but also doing really well, in fact, very, very well on my new TikTok at The Brown Damon. Let me go ahead and show you what I did. Big deal. Probably got several $7 million. Then recorded a few years ago, Beyonce actually got hired as a headliner for Coachella. Big deal. Probably got $7 million. Then recorded a special about her Coachella appearance. She gets the bag from that, as they say. So she got another 10 mil. 6 months or so later, she drops an album called Homecoming. So she's making money 3 ways from 1 2-hour appearance. So that's how you appear everywhere at once. Yeah. And so you compare that style of app to, say, the ones that are, or not app, that style of short, where I'm doing a podcast style. Compare that to, say, some of my earlier shorts, or maybe some of the shorts that you've seen with podcasts. It's a whole different level. The text is animated. I was able to split it so that Beyonce is dancing above my head. Shout out to Beyonce. And then I'm talking about her business moves below. And this is actually based on an older episode. For you guys that are OGs that have been subscribing for a while, this is actually based on. Sorry, I got 20 things going at once here. Here we go. It's based on how Beyonce makes money off of money. That's the one at the bottom. And then the short itself is this one move made Beyonce millions. Again, the shorts are available over at bringyourworth.tv, as is the long form episode. I forgot to put the link in there, but the link will be below when you see the replay of this. What you're able to do with captions essentially is add flavor and animation to the podcast or the work that you're already doing. Please check it out, because number one, you can add that animation and that flavor to it. It's a totally different feel. And it wasn't that much more work than me putting in the captions myself. AI has a purpose. Number two is that the language translation, you're going to be seeing a lot more of this. Mark my words. No pun intended. The automatic translation, the ability to have YouTube or whatever platform translate the language that you're saying, perhaps I'd say within the next 3 to 4 years in real time to the language of the person that you're speaking to. So if you're listening to me right now, by the time you watch this 3 or 4 years from now, I could be speaking to you in your native language. That's already starting to happen. It's available in captions.ai now, like right now. I've already been using it. Not sure what I'm going to do with it, but it's a powerful tool. Even if you decide not to use these particular tools, at least check them out so you know the direction that things are going. Such an important thing. If you guys have any questions or comments in regards to finding the best parts of the podcast to share, please plug them in below. And the final question that I've been getting a lot, I think it's really important, is how do I increase my podcast reach? I think that rhymes. So my favorite tool for this, and I think some of y'all, I might have been on your podcast and you put me onto this. So shout out to y'all. Headliner. Headliner for the last few years has been one of my favorite platforms. Here's how it works. You go to Headliner app. The link is right there. It's a referral link, so you get a bonus for there. I think you get a month free. You go to there and you put in a link to your podcast. Your podcast usually has something called an RSS feed. Don't test me on what it says or what it stands for, because I'm way out of computer science now. But at one point, I knew what it stood for. Again, you throw it in the comments if you remember. And so you put in the RSS, only 2 S's, RSS feed. You put it in there, and then it'll automatically start pulling in your podcast. Here's the thing. For all the podcast episodes, it will actually pull it in and then automatically start to format them so you can share them on the different platforms, whether it's social media like TikTok and Facebook, whatever, or if you actually want to have a standalone episode. When I appear on a podcast, I usually ask permission from the podcast host to take a snippet so I can share it with y'all, so y'all can learn more about what we were talking about, and ideally click on the link so you can listen to the podcast conversation. All those things that are formatted, you go to bringyourworth.tv and check them out. Just look up podcasts or just go through the episodes. All of those are formatted using Headliner. Really straightforward to use. It's completely in the browser. You notice a pattern here. I love that. Similar to riverside.fm. It's all in the browser. And then when new podcast episodes come out, like when you deliver a new episode, let's say you're like me, deliver episode every Wednesday and every Sunday, you get a notification email that'll say, hey, you just did another episode. It's Wednesday. You did another episode. Click on here, and then we got it formatted for you. It's ready to go. And then you just clean it up, and you can share it with your audience. Such a powerful tip. I think it's really important to streamline this as much as possible. Doing a regular podcast, video or otherwise, is hard. You see me sweating over here. I'm trying to give you as many tools as possible to streamline that. If you're going to succeed in this upcoming year, you got to get your systems in place, ideally before you launch your podcast. All right. Another format, TubeBuddy. Big fan of theirs. I've been a TubeBuddy user for 2 years. I think on the professional level, I think it's called Legend, their highest level for about a year when I started getting really serious about bringing worth TV. Here's what TubeBuddy does. When you're working in YouTube, which you kind of get the tube part, when you're working in YouTube and you're uploading something, it'll recommend the best tags for it. Tags are similar to hashtags. If you know Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, or the other things, tags on YouTube are similar to hashtags. So you have tags on there. It'll, if you put a title on there, such as all the podcast software you need, live Q&A, it will give a rating and say, here's how it rates compared to, here's how it will probably do compared to your other videos on your channel. And also, here are your so-called competitors, where if you do this episode with this title, when someone searches for podcast software, these are the other episodes from competitors that are going to show up in that list. Really important, because then I know I had one episode. I had one episode where instead of saying in the title, instead of saying emotional intelligence, which if you've been a fan of the show, you know I love Brene Brown's work and I've done a lot of things in emotional intelligence. But it's to shorten it, you call it EQ. I did one episode and I said, level up your EQ, which makes sense. But then, even though I'm an audiophile, I'm really into music. You see John Coltrane back there. I didn't put it together until I started using TubeBuddy and doing some research where I was like, level up your EQ. What are the competing, search results? And it was like Gramophone magazine. And this is how you set up your amp. Old school folks know what an amp is. This is how you set up your amp. This is how you get the red and the blue wire in the back to fit. All these other things had to do with actual EQ levels as like an engineer with music. Because EQ stands for equilibrium. But it also equalizer. See? Stands for 15 different things. Not equilibrium. That's a different thing. Stands for equalizer, how you equalize the sound. Versus EQ in the modern sense of it, which means emotional intelligence, which is parallel to IQ, which is intelligence quotient, right? That's where EQ came from. Long story long, TubeBuddy was able to save me from that and be like, no, bro, you don't want to do EQ. Because if you do EQ, the only people that are going to be finding you are people that have speakers in the back of their car. Like, they're not going to rock with you like that. And the people that are interested in emotional intelligence, guilt and shame, Brene Brown, and those deeper subjects, they're not going to find you. So I changed my title. If you're going to have a video podcast, this is essential. They have a free version too. So, and the other one I'm going to recommend, which is called vidIQ, also has a free version, similar to Restream and StreamYard. The key thing here, though, is that if you have video podcast that you're going to launch, yes, you absolutely need some type of tool like this, particularly if you're going to be on YouTube. But even if you're doing an audio podcast, if you're going to be promoting these things on different platforms, you need some way. Back in the day, we would call it SEO, right? Search engine optimization. There's like a new version of that where you need some way for people to find your work. If you're going to be sharing snippets of your podcast on the different platforms, and then you're going to run with it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a challenge with that. If you're able to take your audio podcast and then optimize it properly for the work that you're doing when you share it on different platforms, then your reach and your opportunities to get new listeners is way higher. So the stuff I'm talking about, you might start to tune out and be like, oh, that's for video. That's what I'm trying to get at. This is for all of us now. And even audio podcasts, the most successful ones, as you might know, the ones that can go by brand name, they're doing video too. Even if they're audio only, shout to Seth Godin and other folks like that, they're doing video related things. So keep that in mind. It's important for everybody. A great competitor is vidIQ. My preference leans a little bit more towards TubeBuddy because I like their system a little bit more. vidIQ is interesting because the levels that you can go at are a lot higher. So if you go for their like super duper plan, you actually can work with a coach, like one-on-one, someone's talking to you, helping you with your channel. You get the particular insights with AI, way more than TubeBuddy, I would argue at this point. you get the insights with AI where they're like, hey, do this title, do that title. You want to do this title for this audience, or you want to do this topic for this audience? When we flip it, you can do it this particular way. There's a different type of energy with vidIQ. I actually have both of them, but I am only a pro with TubeBuddy. If you want to go deeper, or if there's some stuff I mentioned in here that you might have missed, be sure and check out part 1 from a couple days ago. All the podcast equipment you need. That's when I was talking about mics. That's when I was talking about soundproofing, and got probably as nerdy as I've ever gotten on this channel. Probably as close as I gotten to doing, sound and audio on this channel. But hopefully it got you guys, or helping you get you guys to the next level that did watch. If you're a little bit confused now, be sure and go back to part 1 of this episode, and we can go a little bit deeper where I talk about the actual equipment you need. And if you missed it, essential, catch the conversation that I had with James Oliver. I've mentioned it like 15 times, and I'll mention it 15 more. The reason why I'm emphasizing certain things here is because of the conversation, based on the framework of the conversation that I had with James. So check out part 1 of this, and also check out the conversation I had with James. I'll catch you live tomorrow at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. Be sure and subscribe and click the notifications so you get notified when I'm on the air. Until next time, remember, you can always bring your worth. You can always build from now. Take care of yourselves.